Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to give it a couple of minutes um, to let everybody join us. We have quite a few folks joining us today, so we really appreciate you making time. My name is Julie Witt. I'm with True Footage. We have Joel Baker here from Total or Totality, as they've recently changed the name. And we have Paul Rowe from True Footage as well. So we're going to give everybody a few minutes to get into the webinar. This will be recorded. So if you do have to drop, just know we'll have a recording available. Total will have a copy. We'll have a copy. We'll make sure you get it. So if you're on the road and you're joining us, thank you. We appreciate you making the time. Just know if you can't stay for the whole thing, we'll make sure we have you covered. So I just want to briefly mention, I know a lot of you have been using TrueTracts since the beginning. Thank you. We're excited to have you. We're excited to show you all the new things all the new features, all the new enhancements. It does a lot more, especially if you're a total user. It's going to put a lot more information in your report for you. So we're really excited to show you that today. And again, we just appreciate you making the time to join us. We know you're busy. And we're really excited to show you what TrueTracts can do with Total. We really think you'll find this to be an enhancement to your workflow. So we're excited to have you join us today. And I'm still seeing people join. So again, we're going to give everybody a chance to get in. We'll probably give it another minute or two before we start. And again, for those of you who are just joining us, this will be recorded. So if you have to drop for any reason, or if you get, if your connection drops, you'll be able to get a copy of the webinar. So we just want to make sure we've got you covered. Paul and Joel, if you're okay with it, let's just give it one more minute. I'm still seeing a lot of folks joining us. So if you don't mind, just let's hang tight for one more minute, and then we'll start it probably about 9:02 my time, 11:02 if you're central. We'll kick it off, but let's give folks another minute. I'm still seeing the numbers climb, so people are still joining. All right. I see we still have folks joining, but let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Again, my name is Julie Witt. Thank you all for joining us today. We have Joel Baker from Total and Paul Rowe from True Footage or TrueTracts. We're really excited to show you all what TrueTracts and Total can do together. For those of you who have been using TrueTracts since the beginning, since January when we launched, there's a lot more that TrueTracts does today than you saw in January. And there's a lot more that it will do in conjunction with Total. So we are really excited to show you the new features and all of the things that you can do with TrueTracts and Total together. So with that, I'm going to kick it off and let Paul take over.
Thanks, Julie. Appreciate it. So yeah, I'm really excited to go through this with you today. Let me get this slide started. Agenda. So let's talk through the process a little bit up front, some of the what, the why. Then I'm going to do a live demo. That's going to probably consume most of our time. And then at the end, we'll go through some pricing. And I also have a promo code for you guys that's going to be just for you guys on this call that will expire on Friday afternoon. So I want to give that to you guys at the end. Okay, so a lot of appraisers tell us they don't want to use tools like this because they think it's going to slow them down. The truth is that every step that we do in TrueTracts is actually either faster or just as fast as what you're already doing, but the results are going to be way better. And so you walk away with reports that stand up to far greater scrutiny. And I think we can all agree that that's pretty much where the profession is heading these days. And so the title here, we just make it better. You're already defining your market. You have to do that. We're just making it better. You have to do the market analysis and the time adjustments. You have to get your comps into the grid and clean those up. You have to do feature adjustments and final reconciliation. And so we're just making it better. And by better, I mean faster, more accurate, and more defensible. So let's begin with the end in mind. So when you finish the process in our software, you end up with this opinion of value. You have charts, you have commentary, you have documentation, all that are going to make your report more credible, more defensible than probably 99% of the appraisals that are being produced today. And you get all of that without spending more time. And so I think it would be helpful if we go through before we go through the whole process, that I take a minute to show you exactly what's going to go into your report and your work file at the end of this process. So let me just show you, I have the export pulled up here. And so when you get through all of these different tabs, you end up with this export. And all of this stuff is either going to go into your work file in total. It goes in there automatically when you export, that puts the PDFs in your digital work file, or it's going to go directly into your report. And so you're going to end up with this market analysis report. It's going to describe the process that you went through. It's going to just be transparent and show the features you applied to your data set. It's going to define everything for the reader. It's going to have this interactive heat map that goes into the PDF that you can set up the way you want. A map legend explaining everything on that. We then go into market analysis and time adjustments. We explain all of that for you. We talk about how it's in line with the Fannie Mae selling guide, everything that we're doing. We then put all the market analysis charts in and the automated commentary that we've created for you. So all of those charts go in. And you can choose, by the way, if you don't want to put the seller concession trend chart, you just check a box and it doesn't go in. We then fill out your 1004MC for you in the top of page 1, the top of page 2. There's the 1004MC. All this is automatic commentary that's written for you. You have the ability, though, to change that. You can delete it. You can add to it. We're putting this in your work file, the 1004MC calculations, all the math that's going on in the background, we're explaining what's going on. That's going into your work file. We then have the farm list. So this is all of the data that you used and analyzed in your report. All of those, sometimes thousands of sales, get put in a PDF and put in your work file. Adjustment analysis. We're explaining the process that you went through to reconcile your feature adjustments. We're explaining the different methods that we use, the generalized additive model, depreciated cost, peer adjustment, sensitivity. All this is explained for you and put into your report. Then all of the charts are going to go in with the automated commentary that's created for you for all of your features. Any custom commentary that you've added for your adjustments. And then the really cool reconciliation dashboard. So this basically, you do all this work, and at the very end, you have to reconcile all that into an opinion of value. We're providing you a way to provide complete transparency into how you did that. And so we're going to talk through all that, but I thought it was important to kind of show you guys just right up front. When you get done with this process, not only is it faster, but it's also the results that you're going to get and put in your report are going to be way better. Okay, so let's talk through each tab real quick, and then we'll get into the demo. So it's going to start with, you got to build a strong foundation. This is extremely important. You're going to define your market in a data-driven way. And this is going to, when you define this market, we're going to help you build a large curated data set of competing properties. This is super important because when you're able to collect a lot of sales, that's going to help you get better time adjustments and better feature adjustments. But if you just draw a huge 5-mile radius and you say, give me every sale in that area, you're going to see that the feature adjustments are not as credible as they would be if you actually are more specific with your search. And so we help you provide filters to the data set, but then we also provide a mechanism by which you can gather a bunch more data, not just any data, but relevant data to the subject property. And we'll show you how that works here in a little bit. We then move on to, now we've collected this awesome data set. Now we're going to analyze it for the market stuff. So we're going to look at sale price trends and days on market. And we're taking this to the next level also. We're not just plotting the raw sale prices. We're using our GAM model to first adjust those for differences in features. And then we're plotting adjusted sale prices, which really give us a more credible indicator of what's really going on in the market. We then get into Spark. So with this subscription to TrueTracts Pro, you also get Spark included. You get Spark integration built into the tool, but then you also can use Spark standalone if you want. And so that's a $69 value that's included in this at no additional cost. By the way, let me go back to that. So those of you who don't know Spark, Spark allows you to, in minutes, import 6 to 15 comps and have all of this data cleaned up, UAD format, and put into your report for you. Feature adjustment. So we're going to help you analyze and reconcile feature adjustments using 4 orthogonal methods. So orthogonal is my new favorite word, but it basically means statistically independent. And so each of these methods look at things from a different paradigm. And so I want to talk about GAM for a second. So we've heard questions about, yeah, but what about paired sales? I like, that's the old recognized tried and true method. But even when you find what looks like a perfect pair in paired sales, there's always hidden differences. There's market noise that distort the results. How many times have you guys spent 10 minutes looking for that perfect paired sale for maybe a bathroom? You find it and it indicates a $1,000 adjustment for bathroom, or it indicates $70,000 for bathroom. Well, there was something else going on those two data points that you couldn't figure out. And so it wasn't that helpful. And so it's only using those two data points. Well, GAM, it eliminates problem because it's analyzing all of the features simultaneously across the entire data set, which is awesome, often 1,000 properties or more. And it's spreading those price differences realistically and producing the stable, interpretable curve instead of just that guess with two data points. We're also using peer adjustments. So these are real world reconciled decisions. These are appraisers that were using Synapse. These aren't just appraisers using their hand-me-down methods that they've used for generations. The typical $50 for GLA, $5,000 for a bathroom, all that stuff. These are people that use Synapse, analyzed hundreds of data points, and used 12 different methods to reconcile an adjustment. We have depreciated cost. You guys all know what that is, and we have sensitivity analysis. I don't have time to go through this today, but I think the important thing on this chart is we're looking at the data, all of these. So we talked about how these methods, each of these 4 methods are statistically independent. They each have their own kind of data set size. They also come from a different data source. They each have their own perspective on how they're looking at what that adjustment would be. They each have their own strengths, but they also have limitations. And so that's why we've provided you with 4 different statistically independent methods, because I wish I could tell you that you can just rely on GAM all the time and it's going to give you the best result ever. That's just not true. But just like that's not true, depreciated cost, it's not always going to give you the best indicator. It may overstate what that adjustment is if it's an over improvement. And so we want to give you an ability to look at these adjustments 4 different ways. And then you, as the analyst, you get to decide what the adjustment is and which method is representing the most reasonable adjustment. And then finally, we have the reconciliation dashboard. And so here we have the ability to reconcile all of that analysis using a data-driven, efficient, and transparent process. We're basically taking similarity ratings for each comp. That's going to calculate a comp weight. Then we're going to take those comp weights and calculate a most likely value. Then we're going to use data science to provide a supported value range. And then that supported value range enables you to consider the entirety of your analysis, including qualitative factors that you have not yet considered. Things like multiple offers, things like distance to nearby amenities, things like that you don't necessarily adjust for. And then you get the export. And we already went through that. I showed you what these look like, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but a lot of this goes into your report, and then a lot of stuff just goes into your digital work file to support you later on. Okay, so let me take a drink here, and then we're going to do a real property. Okay, did this switch to do you guys see the subject property info thing here? Yes. Okay, cool. I want to make sure I wasn't still on the other tab. Okay, so you enter in an address, you tell us some information about that property, and then you click Save and Classify. Right now in the background, we're going to provide you, we're using a machine learning model to help you get started to draw your subject submarket boundaries, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. So the first thing I'm going to do is look over here to the right. I see that there is a 98.3% probability that the subject belongs to cluster 15. And so when I click on that, it shows me where those properties are. I'm going to use that as kind of a guide to draw these initial boundaries. So I'm going to draw some boundaries for my subject submarket. What is the subject submarket? Subject submarket is the area in which, number one, you're probably going to find most of your comps. It's probably a little bit bigger than maybe most people draw their neighborhood, but it's going to be where you're going to find most of your comps. But importantly for this tool, it's what's going to help us train the model. So let's keep walking through this and then we'll come back to subject submarket. So I just drew those boundaries, and this is showing me all of the properties that lie within the filters or that lie within those boundaries that have sold in the last 5 years. So I should have said that already. The tool has access to 5 years of sales in any given market that we support. And so if I zoom out here, what it's doing is it's expanding to find 6,000 home sales within the last 5 years. And that's the initial data set that it's using. So let me redraw these boundaries here. And so I've just told the model or told the tool, I want to rely on the sales within those boundaries. And now I want to apply filters, right? Because we don't want to just go give me every sale that's sold in that market. You want to filter those sales to make sure they're somewhat competing properties. And so you can see here, we've automated the application of these filters. However, you are completely free to change these. If you don't think that should go, the lot size should go to 12,000, you change it to 11,000. So you can change these filters to whatever you feel comfortable with. And so I'm not going to mess with these filters on this report, but you can see up here, we started with 46 sales. We've narrowed that down to 268. We're going to click create heat map. Now, this is really cool. So what's happening in the background now, it's taking those 200 and some sales and it's using those sales to train a statistical model. That model is then being used to try and predict the sale prices of all of the other sales in that 6,000 property data set. And so when it's able to successfully predict those sales within 3%, those become dark green colors. So these are similar properties with similar features selling for similar prices. When it tries to predict those home sales and it predicts the sale price, let's say at 500,000, but really that property sold for 560,000, well, it knows those are selling for higher. Those homes with similar features are selling for higher than they are in the subject submarket. And so we color those red. If they're selling for lower, we color those blue. And so why is that important for all of these? Number one, the subject submarket. This is where you're going to find your comps. This is the entire data set that you're going to use to train the model. You are telling this tool, these are the properties that are similar to the subject. Use these to figure out the relationship between features and sale price. Then we have learned that there's a data problem. Appraisers, I've struggled with this. I've been appraising for 20 years. I struggled for this big time where you end up with 13 sales over the last 12 months and you're trying to determine a market trend based on that. And then you see the trend line go all over the place and it's not credible. And so we figured out a way to get you guys additional data, but we don't want to just give you a bunch of irrelevant data. What we're doing is, remember, we predicted these sale prices in these dark green areas within 3%. And so these are similar properties, similar features, selling for similar prices. These can help us understand what's going on in the market for sale price trends, can also help us what's going on for adjustments like GLA, lot size, bed, bath, and other things. And so what we do is we automatically gather these for you. Instead of me just having a data set of 268 sales over 5 years, I can toggle this CS on and you see those lighting up. It's gathering all these additional sales for me to help me in my analysis. And so to reiterate, the subject submarket, this is your submarket area. This is where you're going to hope to find all your comps. If you're dealing with a complex property, you may have to search outside of this. But this is where you're going to get your comps. This is what you're using to train the data set. Then once you get done with that, now we're creating this CS, competing submarket, because the idea is if these properties have similar features and they're selling for similar prices, we're considering these competing submarkets to this submarket. Okay, so now we got this awesome data set. We got 200 and some sales in the subject submarket. We have another 1,000 plus sales in the competing submarket. Now let's analyze that. And so the first thing you see here is sale price trends. So you could see this. This is over a 5-year period. I can zoom into 1 year if I want, but let's just talk about this 5-year. You see the run up during COVID. Looks like it's been going down. And by the way, I don't think I said, but this is a property in the Phoenix area. Prices have been going down a little bit lately. It looks like they're down 3.7% year over year. So you can see that there. And then what's going on here is you can see over on the left, we're using adjusted sale prices. We're not plotting the raw sale price. We're using this GAM model to help adjust these for differences in features before we plot them on this line. We're also zooming in on this most recent trend by using pending sales. So I can toggle those off and it's going to rerun the analysis, not considering the pending sales. But when I toggle those on, let's look at a 1-year trend so we can really zoom in. You can see this green area. This green area is really important because it's it's called the 90% credible interval. It's a statistical term. You don't need to remember that. What you need to remember is this is a measure of confidence. When you see that there's not a lot of green area around this trend line, that means the model is really confident. You've given it enough good, relevant data that it's able to figure out and feel confident about this trend. If I only had 12 sales plotted in the last year, you'd see a lot of green probably because the model is going to be uncertain as to really what that trend is. But that's a really cool feature of this tool that we're showing you that. You don't see that with other tools. You just see a trend line or you see adjustments for time, but you don't know how certain that model is. And we're giving you complete transparency into, hey, we're really certain on this one. You should trust these results. Or, hey, maybe you want to get more data or you want to look at another source. And so here we have, if I include those pending sales, you can see those get plotted on the line and the adjustment changes. So those are showing you the most recent indicator. The other cool thing we're doing with pending sales, you might say, well, how are you plotting a pending sale on the line if you don't know what it sold for? Well, we have a statistical approach to that. We are analyzing the sale to final list price ratio. If we know in this market homes are selling for 0.9% less than they were last listed for before they closed, we can adjust all of these down 0.9%. And so in every one of these cases, we're going to adjust those sales based on the final sale to list price ratio. We're showing you guys supply, days on market trends. By the way, these are all going to fill out stuff in your report. So if I choose, if we're defaulting to this as a shortage in this market. If you say, no, that's relatively in balance for my market, you change that. We're going to check that box for you on page 1 that the market supply is in balance. What else here? So sale to final, you will automatically also for your pending sales in your grid, we will adjust those automatically for you. If you want to change that adjustment, you're free to do so, but we give you commentary and we automatically adjust your pendings and your contingents, in this case, down 0.9%. We will adjust your active listings for you. In this case, this is sale to original list price, right? We don't know that that's the final list price. And so this is a more important statistic for active listings. And so we would adjust those in this case down 2.2% for you. And again, you get the great commentary that goes along with that. Distress sales, seller concession trends. Down here, all your 1004MC stuff. We have guidance. If you're curious about, what's going on up here, what's going on here, you can read the guidance. We're filling out the top of page 2. 1004MC, you can check these boxes here, or you can do it in total. And then the commentary. If you want to add additional commentary, you're free to. Okay, so now we go to grid cleanup. Okay, so what we want to do here is it's time to go get our comps. Now, you guys don't want to watch me do comp selections, so I did that ahead of time, but you just go pick your comps. You export those the same way you do today with Spark. If you're not using Spark today, it's just a CSV file. I'm going to put in the comps. I'm going to put in the subject. Click next. And so what this is doing is it's comparing the MLS data to public records. And anytime there's a discrepancy, it's highlighting it in red. You simply hover over, you make your decision on what you want that to be. There are so many settings in Spark that it's not even funny, but you can get this data customized exactly how you want. If you don't like COV patio, you click here and you change what you want covered patios to come in with that abbreviation. It's got all kinds of settings. You can tell it whether you want it to rely on public records or MLS for certain features, but there's all kinds of cool stuff here. You can also do the cost approach here. I'm not going to get into that today, but you make your changes here and then you click export. I'm going to click this button. This is going to reopen TrueTracts in a new session. It's not a new session, but it's just updating the old session. So it's bringing in all that data, and this takes a minute. Okay, and so now we have successfully imported our comps. We just saved probably 20 minutes. I don't know how long it takes you guys, but if I had to hand type comps, 6 to 9 comps in the grid, that's going to take me 20 minutes to go through that process. This gets you 90% of the way there. But we created this data cleanup tab because sometimes you still have some more work to do. So often we've seen, like porch patio deck, maybe that didn't come in right because your MLS doesn't report that well. Where I live in Chicago, basements are a disaster. We typically have to hand do the basement square footage and stuff like that. So we give you the opportunity to do that here. You can also rate comps for quality and condition here. We actually rate the comps for quality and condition. We match what you rated the subject at in the first step. And so you obviously are going to change these, but the idea is this is an efficiency tool. If you're picking comps, ideally you're picking comps that are in the same quality as condition as the subject, but you're going to have to change these on some of these comps. You can also see the pictures here. So you can click here and it will load up the pictures and you can go through those one by one and make some decisions if you need to here. But the whole point of this tab right here is you're just cleaning the data. You want, when you move on to analyze this data, you want all the information to be the way that you want it to be. And so when you get done here, you're going to go to the next tab, which is feature adjustments. So again, it's taking that big data set, the relevant data set that we created in that first step where we laid the foundation. It's now analyzing that with 4 different statistically independent methods. Okay, so you see up top, we have our adjustment philosophy. I'm not going to go through this right now, but in general, we want to give you support for adjustments that can be supported really well with data and analytics. There are some adjustments that are extremely difficult to support, either because the data is dirty from the MLS and it's not consistent, or there's not enough data to really analyze and get a good adjustment. We built the reconciliation process in this tool to account for those things that are really hard to support quantitatively with an adjustment. And so we're going to go through and make these quantitative adjustments here, but just know there's some features that have very minimal impact on value that sometimes it's just not a good idea to make a $2,000 adjustment in the grid that you can't support with any data. It's better to just consider that qualitatively when you do the reconciliation process. So I'm going to collapse this and get that out of the way. Okay, so what do we see here? We see on the left, this whole box right here is GAM. This is the generalized additive model. This is taking those 268 sales plus the 1,523 sales. It's adjusting them for all of the differences except for GLA in this case. It's plotting those on a line. It's then fitting a GAM trend line, this red line, through that data to show you the behavior. This is important about GAM. The reason we chose GAM is it's very interpretable. You can see here, if I remove this trend line, you could probably draw a pretty similar trend line through the data. Other really cool thing about GAM is it will support nonlinear results. So if in this case, you can see that the rate of change is fairly going up here, but it steadies and gets more flat here. And so what that is that's the law of diminishing returns taking place. If you have a comp that's 2,600 square feet, the difference between the subject and that comp, the rate of change for GLA is probably less than it is between the difference of a 1,900 square foot and 2,000 square foot. And we can see that if we click nonlinear here. Well, in this case, you know what, I'd have to do something. You know what, let me do that though. I'll tell you what, I'm going to change something really quick. I'm going back to grid cleanup. I'm going to make one of these comps 2,600 square feet. I want to show you guys this. Okay, now let's go back here. So that blue line that I was showing you, that is indicating the smallest comp to the largest comp, because that's the rate of change we care about. We don't care about the rate of change for a comp that's 1,200 square feet to the subject, because we don't have any comps that are 1,200 square feet. So in this case, we care about the rate of change between 1,900 and 2,600 square feet. So that's that blue line. This is a linear line. It's saying, what is the rate of change from here to here? On average, it's $76. If I want to change this to nonlinear, it's going to fit that right through the curve. And you can see here now, the adjustment is going to be somewhere between 71 and 87. That's because back here, it's a higher adjustment than it is up here. And so this is more of an advanced method, but it's really cool, especially when you have an outlier comp that's much bigger. And you're like, man, if I apply that same $80 adjustment that I'm applying back here to this one, it gets all out of whack. Well, that's probably because the law of diminishing returns is happening, and we're giving you a way to do that. Okay, so taking a step back to just looking at GAM. So we have the red trend line. We have the blue line. That's the linear line. That's what this number is, 76. That's the best guess estimate. But this is the 90% credible interval. And so you are free to pick an adjustment if you want to rely on GAM anywhere between $72 and $80 a square foot. This is where it's most confident that the adjustment lies. But this is only one method. So now we have these other three that we can look at. We have peer adjustments. So we talked about what peer adjustments are. We're showing you the 10th through the 90th percentile range. The 50th, that's just the median. So we took, in this case, 106 peer adjustments. These are adjustments appraisers made in Synapse on a similar property in the same or similar market. And here they were all from the same county. There's a huge algorithm that goes into how we pull these peer adjustments, but it's pretty cool. And maybe I'll stop here and show you guys this, because this is a chat, this is an AI powered chat tool in this bottom left. This is always available to you, and it keeps the thread. And so I asked it at one point, give me a complete understanding of the peer adjustment algorithm in TrueTracts. You could do this at any time, and it will give you, we're looking at geographic limits, we're looking at zip code sorting, population density filters, price filters. So it will explain to you exactly what we're doing in order to gather those. But this is a really cool feature that's always available to you in the bottom left. It's trained on specifically TrueTracts knowledge-based documentation. So if you ever have a question in TrueTracts, just ask this. It will hit that knowledge base, and it will give you, on most cases, a really good answer. We've gotten good feedback on that so far. Okay, so you have these peer adjustments. They're indicating 63 to 100. You have depreciated cost indicating 76. Then you have sensitivity at $1. So sensitivity, obviously, that's just focusing on what is the adjustment in the grid that narrows the range the most. I use this to just help me reconcile where in this range do I want to be. So in this case, 72 to 80 falls within this range. So if I click this, I am now adding peer adjustment as support. So you can see down here, it just added a statement about how I'm supporting this adjustment with peer. If I toggle that off, that goes away. If I toggle it back on, it goes back on. Depreciated costs, $76. If I want to add that, I just toggle that on. So right now I'm looking at three methods, and they're all kind of lining up. So I love that. So they're all pointing to 76 here, 76 is right in here, and 76 is depreciated cost. So I feel pretty good about that. I might go 76 and just call it a day and move on. Now I come down to lot size. This one's indicating $3.80 to $4.90, which is pretty much in this range of what my peers are doing in this area. And so I feel good about that. We can't do depreciated cost on lot size, obviously. But then how can I consider sensitivity? In this case, sensitivity helps me figure out where within these ranges do I want to be. And so maybe I use sensitivity to help me reconcile this at the lower end of GAM. So I'm at maybe 3.8. So I changed that adjustment to 3.8. So now I'm adjusting lot size at $3.80 per square foot. And you can see the commentary here. Lot size was adjusted at $3.80 per square foot for differences greater than 1,000 square feet. By the way, you can change this in the grid. The following methods were analyzed and used. And this last one, sensitivity analysis in the sales comparison grid was then used to test and refine the adjustment methods indicated by the above methods, ensuring they reflect the market-derived contributory value. So that's how I don't want to use, I typically don't want to use sensitivity as a method of support on its own. I don't want to do this. I like to pair that with other methods and help me determine where within that range should that adjustment be. So now I come down here to bedrooms. It looks like all my comps have the same bedrooms, so it doesn't need to do anything there. Bathrooms, again, we got 9,800 to 15 grand. That lies generally within this range. Depreciated cost is right there too. But sensitivity says what? It says it should be at the lower end. That's going to narrow the range of the comps the most. So maybe I take that into account and I say, you know what? I'll come in at the low end of peer, at the low end of GAM, and I'll go 10,000. But this is great. I love when this happens because I have 4 methods of support. How can an underwriter possibly question how I came up with $10,000 a square foot or question that my method? And again, I'm talking through this, so this has taken a while, but to reconcile this bathroom adjustment would literally take you 15 seconds because all I would have done was click to add sensitivity analysis and then typed in the method there. Now, I want to be clear. Sometimes GAM sucks. Sometimes GAM will show you $75,000 as an indicator for bathroom adjustment. And we all know on a $450,000 property, that is just not reasonable. So just know like, hey, if I see something unreasonable from GAM, I don't sweat it. I just turn it off. I'm not relying on it. It takes it away from the commentary. It takes it away from my analysis. This won't go in the report. These methods will go in the report. So you're in control of what works and what doesn't. A lot of times depreciated cost is, you're dealing with an over improvement. It might show you a really big number. Don't sweat it. Don't say, oh, this tool sucks. Depreciated cost doesn't make sense. Just toggle it off. It goes away. Age, by default, we have this disabled. Um, this isn't meant to be a training, it's more meant to be a demo, but please don't make age adjustments and condition adjustments. You should pick one or the other. You want to make age adjustments when actual age equals effective age. That's the best time to make an age adjustment. Typically properties where the entire comps and subject are less than 20 years old, as a general rule. Age adjustments can be great because effective age, actual age are the same, and they could be pretty reliable with newer construction like that. But when you end up with rehabs and all that stuff mixed in the data, don't do age adjustments, do condition adjustments. So we have this toggled off by default. I think if I try to toggle it on, it's going to warn you. It's basically going to tell you what I just told you. So we're building in guardrails too to help you guys because we don't expect you to remember all of this right away. And so we're busy, we're trying to build in as many guardrails and guidance for you guys as possible. Okay, garage spaces, how would I reconcile this? So again, we don't care about the difference between 0 to 1 because the comps and the subject all have 2 or 3. And so this is at 12. Sensitivity is saying I want to be at the upper end. And so maybe if I don't want to include peer and I don't want to include, maybe I just want to go with GAM on this, and maybe I want to go 14,000 because now I'm going to be at the high end of the range, which will narrow the range the most there. Stories were good. Pool, again, GAM, we're looking at no pool versus pool. Pretty tight range. When you see this type of a range, it's really confident in this result. And so when you see, if I saw negative 5,000 to positive 68,000 here, that's an indication, turn GAM off and look somewhere else because either you don't have enough data or it's just not confident. But when I see this, I don't want to fight the data on this. You may think you have this preconceived notion that, pools in my area are 50,000. I would argue that if you see this, I wouldn't fight this. I would challenge that preconceived notion you had about what pools are worth and consider relying on this. Now, I'm not saying if this was negative 18,000 to positive 22,000, I'm not saying challenge your preconceived notion. I'm saying turn this off and use a different method. But the key to this that I've learned working with appraisers is when you don't fight the data, when you have really credible results, it's going to result in a tighter range in your grid. Okay, quality condition. If all my comps have the same quality condition, these will be toggled off. If you need to make a quality or a condition adjustment, we have pre-written commentary for you. I want to go through that. I'll just go through it on quality, but this is our guidance on how to handle quality for right now. The adjustment for quality was initially developed using depreciated cost analysis as a baseline estimate of contributory value. This adjustment was then tested and refined through sensitivity analysis in the grid to ensure it was supported by market data. We will give you the depreciated cost adjustment for quality differences and condition adjustments. We then suggest you then refine that in the grid with sensitivity. I'll give you an example once we get to the grid. This is the commentary about how we're adjusting your active, pendings, and contingents for you. Again, all of this is editable. If I don't like that, I want to change it, I want to delete it, you can do whatever you need to do there. Okay, additional features. So we have some other features here that we can support. So let's say you have an enclosed porch. We only have two methods to support enclosed porch. We have peer adjustments or we have depreciated cost. So let's say that you have a enclosed porch of above average quality. You hover over above average, it'll explain to you what that is. And maybe it's a medium size. It's around 500 square feet. I simply click that button and I have now inserted $14,200 as my depreciated cost adjustment for enclosed porch. We have a bunch of others here. Let's see, what other one do I want to show you? Cooling. Okay, this is a cool one. We just added this. So central air conditioning, think about this. So we have the pier. So this is what your piers are doing. And you can see there's a decent range here, right? 3,000 to 20,000 are what peers are doing on similar properties in the same market. If you have existing ductwork in your subject and your comps, you click that, and this is the indicated adjustment via depreciated cost. However, if you don't have that existing ductwork, if you live in a market like I do and you're dealing with a 1920s bungalow, and if you want to add central air, you're going to have to install ductwork and everything throughout. You click this and we do the math for you. And so you could read this thing, but we're basically using Home Advisor and the US Department of Energy to get an estimate of $7 to $10 per square foot for ductwork installation, plus allowances for electrical upgrades, finish work. All that stuff is done for you. And the range is somewhere between 10 and 25,000. We choose where within that range based on how big the subject is. And so this is an estimate of what it would take to install central air into a house that doesn't have that ductwork. I think that's really cool. One more, we have accessory dwelling unit, so ADU. ADU, we asked for a little bit more information for you so we could get more granular on the adjustment. Let's say we have a 300 square foot ADU. Let's say it's of Q4 quality. Say it's got one bath and it's one story. You hit calculate. We then go to dwelling cost. That's our cost provider. And we ping that to get the depreciated cost adjustment for that ADU. Now, you want to be careful in your market. Depreciated cost does not equal contributory value. So you need to make sure that's not an over improvement. But you can compare this to your peers and you can see what they've been adjusting, and that can kind of validate what you're doing there. Okay. I'm going along as usual, so I'm going to keep going. So we have these adjustments. We're going to move now to reconciliation. So now we come to the grid. All those adjustments have been applied for us, and we can look at a few things. So at the top, we have analysis mode. By default, we're in analysis mode. I'm going to click on full grid view. This shows you every single possible row in the sales comparison grid. But what we've done is, why would you care when you're analyzing properties number of stories if all of your comps are one story? Why would you care about bedrooms if they're all 4 bedrooms? And so what we've done is in analysis mode, we collapse all of those. So you don't have to look at that big, long, ugly grid. We're just giving you the stuff that you need to look at. We're also adding a similarity score, a similarity rating to each comp. This is based on the gross adjustments. If you guys think about this, gross adjustments, that's the total amount of adjustments that were applied to that comp. If you have very little, it's probably a similar comp. And so it's going to get a high rating. In this case, we had only 5.7% adjustments. So that's going to get a high rating. If we come down here to this one had significantly more gross adjustments, so it got a 7. These are completely editable by you. If you guys want to change this, these ratings correspond to the weights that are applied for these comps. And so these are important because later on, when we get to this other part, these are going to help us determine the value. We also have the ability to move comps. So if I click this little right arrow, it's going to move that comp over one. And if I want to sort all the comps by their similarity score, I just click that and it's going to put my most similar comps at the front. We have agent remarks. So you just hover over this to see what the agent had said about that property. We have the ability to get into those comps and look at photos. So I can quickly scroll through and I can help determine quality and condition on these comps. And so I might look at, let's see, let's say I was looking at this one and I go, you know what, this is the worst quality. This is like a Q4 minus. Maybe this is a C5 plus, maybe it's got some damage going on. And so you can see what's happening here. These are the depreciated cost adjustments that are being applied automatically for you. So we come back here. Now, I might want to fine tune these. Don't just trust the depreciated cost and leave it at that. I would probably fine tune this and I would say, okay, 461, actually 461 does fall pretty tight within that range. So maybe I would just round this and I would go 10,000 for that. And maybe I knock this down to 60,000. And then I look, we got another high one over here. So maybe this one, I look through the photos, I go, oh, this one's probably a Q4 plus. This one's a little bit better quality than just a normal Q4. So I'm going to apply that, and that applies that adjustment. And by the way, these little tool tips, these are the new Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac definitions of quality. And so if you want to remind yourself of what those are, you just hover over these tool tips. They're built into the tool. Okay, now I might be looking at this and I'm really trying to fine tune things. I've locked in my quality and condition. I've went through the photos and maybe I say, you know what, I want to revisit GLA adjustment again. You don't have to go back to feature adjustments. You simply click on enter adjustment mode for GLA and right here in the grid, the whole adjustment modal pops up and I can now fine tune that. And so now that I've made quality and condition adjustments, I may have made a location adjustment or something like that. I could use sensitivity again and go, you know what? Do I want to be at the higher or lower end of this range? I'm going to toggle on sensitivity and I'm actually going to knock this down to $72 a square foot at the low end of GAM because that's going to make this range of this comp going down less, this comp going up less, which will make them tighter together. And so I can click out of that here. I can go into any of these different categories and look at those adjustment indicators again if I want to. We have the thresholds. You guys are in control of these. We default to 1,000 square feet for lot size. We default to 100 square feet for GLA. If you're appraising a 600 square foot property, I suggest changing that threshold, maybe even removing the threshold. But those are there for you by default. Come down here. So we can see all of these comps located on a map. I can zoom in and see if there's any external obsolescence that I didn't consider before. So I can do that if I want. And then a brand new feature, which we just added, is heat map. So now we can see the heat map view right here with the comps plotted. And so this is super helpful if, let's say that you crossed a major boundary and you had a comp that was located over here. You screenshot this heat map, the fact that the comp's located right there, you put a little comment in the report, and you're good to go. You're supporting that this is a similar neighborhood. Yes, it's across a busy street, but this is support for that similar. And then alternatively, if you have a comp in a blue or a red area, you can screenshot it and that can help you support your location adjustment. Okay, so now let's pretend we've locked everything in. We feel really good about the grid. We click this button here and we enter reconciliation dashboard. So this is spelling out, this will go into your report and this is spelling out for the underwriter. Here's what I did. Here's the math. Here's your comps. Here's their similarity rating. That calculated a weight for each of those comps. We multiply those weights times their adjusted sale price. That gives us their weighted contribution. You add up the weighted contributions of each comp. That gives you the most likely value. So ideally, in this statistically, this is the most likely value for the subject or for this subject property is 463. That's based on the comps you provided, based on the adjustments you made to those comps, and then based on the similarity scores you've given those because those gave them a weight. We have the methodology here. I suggest you guys all read this once. We have it collapsed by default so it doesn't get in your way, but this will go into your report explaining to the reader everything that you've done, and it's super helpful to the reader. So this tells us that the value is 463, but we know as appraisers, there's a ton of noise in that number of 463. There's buyer seller motivations for each comp. There is location to certain amenities within those. There's floor plans. Sometimes, maybe there's a comp that the subject has a more open floor plan than most of the comps. All of these things would sway your opinion of value within a supported range. And so what we do is we provide you the supported range in blue, and then you have the ability to choose any number within that supported range, and you are statistically supported by all of this commentary here. Once you read that, we don't have time to go through it right now. But just to give you an idea, that's a Bayesian posterior t-distribution. It's supported by statistical literature. So this all goes in your reports to the underwriter. If they try to push back, you have the information you need to push back on them. But in this case, it's telling me 463, but what if I have multiple offers on this property and I have an offer at 465, 467, and 470? And for whatever reason, they accepted the offer at 467. I can reconcile this range at 467 because number one, it's within the blue area. It's within the supported value range. But number two, I just come down here and I type why I did that. So I'm going to type that there were multiple offers showing demand at this price point, blah, 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 or whatever those other factors are. Because remember, everything that's being considered here, this is your comps, the adjustments to those comps, the corresponding adjusted sale price, the similarity rating, the corresponding weight percentage. That's all what's being done to calculate this. So there's so much statistical support that goes into this range that you're really good as long as you stay within this range. It also doesn't mean you can't go outside of this range. The red is a hard stop. This is your highest adjusted sale price and your lowest adjusted sale price. But as long as you're within this range, the further you go out from this range, the more support you need in a qualitative manner as to why you did. Quick efficiency thing, you have the ability to click this button. This will open up a read-only view of this dashboard so that you can move this, because we all know we work in multiple monitors. You move this to another monitor, and then you can close this and you can see your whole grid while you type your reconciliation commentary. You just can't change anything. It's just a read-only version of that. Okay, so we lock in all of this stuff, and now we click Proceed to Export tab. That's going to take us to the export. We're almost done, guys. Appreciate you hanging with me. We already went through this export, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to save you the time of the export. I'm going to show you in total what it looks like. So once you export, all of this stuff goes into your work file. You guys are familiar with the Spark. Those of you who've used Spark, it goes through all the data discrepancy stuff. That goes in your work file. There's a white paper explaining to you everything about TrueTracts and the methodology and all the support you need there. The market analysis summary, your farm list, all of that's going to go straight into your work file. And then for your report, all of the stuff on page one gets filled out. This is most of the stuff from Spark. These are boxes checked from the corresponding charts. These are checked from Spark and some other things here. All the stuff goes into the grid. If you did the cost approach, it would have gotten filled out for you. Let's come down here. Your 1004MC gets filled out. All of the PDFs go into your report. I'll scroll through those quickly, including your adjustments and including the reconciliation dashboard. So all of that goes into your report. Let's go back here real quick and let's wrap up. So what do? We built a strong foundation. We analyzed the market intelligently. We imported comps efficiently. We reconciled our adjustments with confidence. We helped tell the story with a bunch of automated commentary and the ability for you guys to modify and add to that. And then we close the loop with smart reconciliation. Pricing, a lot going on there. So we We had Spark and Synapse, right? Spark was $69 a month for unlimited. Synapse was $30 a month for unlimited. With that, you got the comp cleaning, you got the adjustment support, and you got the market analysis for $99 a month. TrueTracts, comp cleaning, there's not really anything new there. Adjustment support, in my opinion, this is at least twice as valuable as the old adjustment support in Synapse. Market analysis is so significantly better. Market definition and curated data set. This is completely new. The ability to do this. The reconciliation dashboard is completely new. And we haven't changed the price. It's still just $99 a month for all of that. Lastly, sign up. So sign up, go to TrueTracts.com to sign up. Office hours, we do office hours every day at noon central. If you guys are in the tool, this little question mark in the top right, if you click that and you click join office hours, it opens up the Google Meet. It shows here in 6 minutes, we're starting office hours. So when we get off here, if you guys want to jump on and you just click join and you go right into office hours. You don't have to ask questions. You can sit and listen, or you can just say, hey, here's a property I'm working on. Will you do it for me? Will you walk through the steps for me and help me do this? We're happy to do that to help you guys get started. Join our Facebook group. We have a Spark Synapse TrueTracts Facebook group. And then lastly, the promo code. So we have a promo code that expires the end of the day Friday. This is for new users only. It's one total 20, and that gets you $20 off. It's applicable for the TrueTracts Pro subscription. Okay, so let's open it up to questions.
Hey, Paul. We had somebody ask if we can go back to how you integrate Spark comps into the report. They said they didn't follow, and I'm guessing a couple folks probably kind of felt that way too. So if you can just quickly cover that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, since we already have comps here, it's not going to look like it did the first time I did it. But if I want to import comps, it's the buttons up here, but before it was in the middle here. And all I did was I clicked the button, and what it does is it opens up a Spark session that's tied to my TrueTrack session. So this is a very specific session that when I upload my comps here, and then when I click export, it knows that this session needs to send it back to this. So it's just as easy as clicking a button in the grid cleanup tab that opens up that Spark session. Then you drag your comps. That was the main question, Julie, or was it how do you
Yeah.
get your comps? Okay.
I think it was, well, and maybe we need to go. I think that was the main question was, and for the user that typed this, there wasn't a name. If that doesn't answer your question, please let us know. And also you can join us in office hours if you want us to go through a more detailed version as well. So, but I think that answered the question.
Okay, cool. What else?
Let me see. Oh, here's a good one. Will the sensitivity analysis take into consideration your other adjustments that you've made? I want to see using my comps what the ADU's value is, but I want all the other adjustments first, right? So I think that was on the when you were going through feature
Yeah.
adjustments.
Yes. Hang on here. Let me go back here. So I understand the question. It's a good question. And I understand what you're doing because I would want to do something similar. Sensitivity for this is coming soon. We don't have sensitivity for the accessory dwelling unit like an ADU yet. So what
In
I would
general,
do,
Paul, though, does that principle apply to sensitivity analysis as you make other, say you set your GLA, does that change anything further down in the
yeah, so most appraisers will understand sensitivity, but I'll explain it for those that don't. And I also it give me an opportunity to tell you how we're doing sensitivity analysis different and in a much better way than how it's been done in the past. So sensitivity analysis, the philosophy around that is you are making the adjustment that narrows the range, the adjusted sale price range the most. And so if this is my lowest adjusted comp, and let's say I wanted to make a quality adjustment to that, what I could do is I could average the adjusted sale prices of everything else. And let's say in this case, I'm guessing 460. So the sensitivity analysis indicated adjustment would be 17,000 for quality, because that's going to take that and it's going to put it in line with the rest of the comps. Now, when we use sensitivity with GLA, lot size, bathrooms, all that stuff here, we're using MAD. It's a mean absolute deviation. So the way appraisers do it in the past is you add them all up and you average them out. What we're doing is we're considering we're using MAD because it minimizes the impact of outliers. So let's say that you have a grid where all your comps are adjusting to 400 to 415, and you got one that's at 450. It's going to minimize the impact of what that outlier does to the sensitivity analysis in the grid. And so it's really cool, because a lot of times what you don't want to do is you don't want to give a dumb adjustment to your comps that are all, uh, you know, coalescing around like one value, 400 to 410. You don't want to give a weird $300 square foot GLA adjustment to those just to bring that outlier comp down. What you'd rather do is minimize the impact of that outlier and have a more reasonable indicator of like $100 per square foot. But what you're doing, what you're talking about in that question is what you can do here. It's all of these other adjustments are made first. And let's say that instead of covered patio, this was ADU, and the depreciated cost adjustment was 25,000. But if you adjust this at 25,000, it's going to be your lowest adjusted. Well, then maybe you knock that down and you only adjust it at 15,000. And so what you did there was, for support, what you would type is, I used depreciated cost in conjunction with sensitivity analysis in the grid to support my $15,000 ADU adjustment. Sensitivity analysis doesn't have to be one specific number. I like to use it generally to give you directionally, like you have this one method of support, and now directionally, how can I deviate from that a little bit using sensitivity? What else? I see we have people with raised hands, but I don't know if they can talk. If we can, I would love somebody to actually ask a question, but I don't know if we can
Let me see. I think attendees, let me see if I can find. Oh, yep. Let's start. We'll just go down the list. Mark Johnson. Can you unmute yourself?
Come on, Mark. We've never had like a live participant question, so it'd be nice. Did you mark him as allowed
Yeah,
to talk?
I
Okay.
did. I did. He just needs to unmute himself. And if he doesn't, I'll go down. I'll give you just a second here, Mark. And if not, I'm going to go down the list. Um, Anita De Simone, if you can unmute yourself. There's if you're looking for it in the lower left corner of your Zoom screen, there's an audio. It looks like a little microphone. If you click that, it's probably red or has a red mark. If you click that, that will allow you to unmute yourself.
Let's go ahead and leave those open, and
Yep,
then is
yep. And
there?
then the next one is Paul. Paul Sharon, and I'm sorry if I'm saying your last name wrong. If you want to unmute yourself.
No, you said it right. Thank
There
you.
you are.
I haven't heard from Joel. I didn't know if he was there. But I did have a couple questions. I have been using TrueTracts. It's great. But you don't have it for Rhode Island MLS. I was wondering if this is going to be inclusive of that, because I do about half my work in Mass and half in Rhode Island. So it's not cost effective for me to use it just for one state. And
Paul, I mean, Julie can answer that real quick, whether or not we cover Rhode Island, but I don't have coverage information in
Okay,
front of me unless you have it off the top of your head, Julie, about Rhode Island.
You
We
can
could follow up with you though.
okay.
Yeah, and for everyone's knowledge, I think I can type it in the chat. But I will I'll put something, I'm gonna put something in the chat, but we have a coverage page where you can go to check our coverage. And we'll make sure we're going to send a follow-up email after the webinar. We'll send you a link to the recording, but we'll make sure we include the link to our coverage page so you can check coverage. And that does include a place to request coverage if we don't cover your county yet.
Yeah, and so just for everybody else, we're covering about almost 80% of the country right now. We have a couple of different data providers. We are working with a couple of new providers to try and figure out if we can get more coverage. We're basically limited by trying to get that MLS data feed from some providers. And once we do, then we have to map it and clean it and do that whole normalization process. And so that's not a simple process, but I promise we are actively working on getting more markets available. It's just not as easy as we would hope.
All right, let me see if we have any other hands raised. Sandra Fuller, if you can unmute yourself. I see you're unmuted. If you can talk to us, Sandra.
She may not have her mic set
She
up.
may not. All
Yeah.
right.
Is there any questions you want to read? I feel like I may have opened up a bad process here because it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like many people can
Let's
get on.
see. How do I find out if my market area county works with TrueTracts? We'll definitely send the link to that.
Yeah, you guys can see
Um,
this here. If you go to TrueTracts.com, the very first part, coverage areas, you click that, and you guys saw me do it for Rhode Island. You just type in your state and it'll show you the counties.
Here's one. What if we export and then realize something needs to change? Can we re-export and have the most current analysis replace the older?
Yes, when you export to total, there's a question that it asks you. It says, do you want to overwrite the fields or do you want to merge the fields? And overwrite basically means I don't care if there's anything there right now. I want this new data going over the top. Whereas merge means if there's data there, don't touch it. But if there's not, then put the data there. So you could do that. And you could also export. When you export, if it's just the support that you need, the PDFs, you can export the digital work file, and then you can just drag in the PDFs that you need.
Paul, here's another one. Do we have to do adjustments as shown in the demo before we push the file over to total and then upload the mobile inspection? I think you have a whole video on this, don't you?
Yes, if you guys join our Facebook group, I did a video on process. And I think your question is a lot of you guys who use Total for Mobile, you guys want the addresses in your Total for Mobile for the comps before you go do the inspection, because that unlocks the ability to see those on a map. And also then when you take that comp photo, it ties it to that address so you don't have to deal with that later. The process that I outlined in the video is you simply, if I have 6 comps, I just type those into Total real quick into that top field. Um, it's a really simple process, and I just did on a video, a guy asked me, yeah, but I have 12. And so I timed myself. It took me 1 minute and 9 seconds to type in 12 addresses. So it is a minute process if you have 12 addresses, but you simply just type them into Total. You upload that to Total for Mobile. You go do your inspection, get your comp photos. You download that back into Total, and then you just continue in TrueTracts and do your thing, and then you export out of TrueTracts.
Will this work with other forms like the GP in total?
Yes, it works with they're one of the GP forms. I don't know. Let me see here. Um, GP SFR and GP condo. So you just select the form type here.
I think we better cover this one. It's not fun, but I know a lot of people probably have this question in their head. So Total is also charging a fee. Do you just want to quickly explain for Total users, it's a little different. So do you want to quickly explain that or do you want me to explain it, Paul?
Yeah, you probably do a better
Okay.
job. I'll screw it up.
Yeah, so for TrueTracts Pro specifically, which is the version Paul showed you today, it has the Spark included, it has your adjustments, and it exports a lot of data to your total report. That does require an integration with Total. That is the $30 that's in the Total store. So TrueTracts Pro is $99, regardless of whether you use Total or you use another form filler. The difference for Total users is that Total requires you to pay that integration fee of $30 a month through the Total store. So that's what that fee is. So it's still $99 total. It's just that you're giving Total your integration fee of $30 and you're paying TrueTracts the $69 a month. So hopefully that answers that question. Paul, do you have time to do one or two more?
Yeah, I certainly do.
Let's see. Is there a way to edit Is there a way to edit the commentary in Total if you see something that needs to be changed at the end? I think you could answer this probably both from a TrueTracts and a Total.
Yeah, the goal here is you want to finish everything in TrueTracts before you export. So you want to really lock in your analysis, your commentary. If I want to change something for quality, for commentary, I'm going to click here and I'm going to add whatever quality comments I want to do. Um, but you want to lock in your adjustments and your commentary because what's going to happen is all of these adjustments are going to go into Total for you. So you don't have to retype them. But the problem is we aren't allowed, there is no ability for us to put these adjustments in Smart Adjust in Total. For those of you who know what Smart Adjust is, we can't put $69 a square foot for GLA in Smart Adjust. So what we do is we end up putting the actual GLA adjustment, in this case of 22,000 or in this case 27,000, into the field. So if you later change this from 26 to 2,500 in total, it won't update the adjustment like it does here. So you want to lock all that in, including the commentary, because the commentary goes in a PDF and PDFs are not editable. So you really want to, it's going to take a habit change, but you want to pretend like, hey, I'm going to send this report. And so let me look at these photos again. Let me make sure these fields are right. Let me make sure I've considered any external obsolescence. Do all your stuff here. If you have to, get into your commentary again, like if lot size, you think to yourself, oh, you know what? I wanted to add a comment on lot size because I just realized comp 6 is whatever. There's only so much usable. You click here and you type that commentary. And then once you're done with all that, that's when you export. Because otherwise, you got to come back here, make the changes, and then re-export.
We have a few questions about the $20 promo code. I think people are confused about what that is, who it applies to. Is that one time? Is that per month? So if you want to just quickly go back over that, Paul.
Yeah. Yep. So it is a one-time $20 off, and it's for new users that want to subscribe to TrueTracts Pro, and that's going to expire by end of day Friday. And the actual code is 1 total 20.
I think.
I love that we still have 287 people on here, so I kind of don't want to just leave them hanging if they got questions.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find some that are, applicable to as many people as possible. Oh, Paul, we didn't really cover this. Are there any plans to add the ability to estimate location adjustments to this product?
Yes, there are plans, but so let me show you guys something here. And then Julie, don't let me forget about quality and condition because that just reminded me that I need to talk about that. So what we've found is we've had users who have taken this, and you can see here and by the way, if you see this 13% here, that's kind of for this little cell. If I click get location adjustment, I can click anywhere on the map and it gives me kind of what that percentage is in that place. So in this case, what we found users is that they've had to pull a comp from here. Let's say they're dealing with a complex property and they didn't have that there, but they found one here that had whatever that ADU, that unique feature is, and they applied this as an adjustment in the grid. We've heard on multiple occasions that that adjustment works really well and actually narrows the range of the adjusted sale prices when applied. That being said, it's not necessarily meant for that today where, oh, it's 13%, you apply that and you have all the support you need. You want to test that in the grid. We have some ideas on how to make this way better in the future. So that will be coming later. But as of today, if I had to use a comp from down here, I might start with an 8% location adjustment in the grid and see what that does for me. And if it works out, I would include this in my report as statistical evidence as to why I came up with that. But again, you'd have two methods. You'd have the method of this heat map, but you would also have sensitivity in the grid to site. So you're basically cross-validating that with two different methods. Somewhat related to that, I wanted to touch on quality and condition. We are super excited that we signed a deal with REST-B. They're the leading provider of computer vision. And in our testing, they've done a really good job of being able to rate quality and condition. And so when you look at the data set, like we can get quality and condition for these 1,700 properties. What does that mean? Number one, it means the heat map will become even more credible. And number two, our adjustments are going to get better. Because remember what GAM is doing. GAM is considering all the variables we know that we're trying to solve for: bed, bath, lot size, GLA. So it's trying to figure out the difference in sale price. How do I attribute that to these different features? But it doesn't know quality and condition, which is, it's considered an omitted variable bias, which I won't go into here because we're kind of at the tail end. But we're going to be able to solve for that in the future. And so hopefully in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're not only going to have better adjustment indicators with GAM because we're going to know quality and condition, but we're going to be able to give you a chart, a graph, just like we are for GLA and everything else for quality and condition with that adjustment indicator. So it's going to get really cool once we start getting that built into the tool. Okay, let's see what else. If I could see the questions, where do I even go, Julie?
If you go to the chat, oh, I'm sorry, it's Q&A. I always call it the wrong thing.
Oh, my things like disappeared. I have this thing. Oh, it just appeared over here. So chat, hang on.
Oh, here's a good one. Is there a benefit to subscribing to Pro if only Basic is currently available in my area? Paul, I think probably not. I don't think they can use the features of Pro if Basic is only available in their area. So we do encourage you to make sure you check that coverage page before you sign up. Because if you try to use the Pro features and we only offer Basic in your area, you're going to get an error message on that page. So, and I'm not sure if we covered that. So.
Okay, Troy Fat Out said one thing you can't do with adjustments, specifically with site, is adjust 2 decimal points, i.e., $2.25 per square foot on lot size. It will round to $2.30 per lot size. Troy, if you're able to support an adjustment within the nearest 5 cents per square foot of lot size, I applaud you. but we've taken the approach, we don't want to provide a level of specificity that we just can't support. And so we're rounding lot size adjustments to the nearest 10 cents. So I don't think we'll be changing that anytime soon, but I understand your question. And I guess my part of my rebuttal would be the impact on value. So if you were to change an adjustment from $2.30 to $2.25, my guess is that's not going to have a very big, if any, impact on your value. And if you wanted, you could reconcile that qualitatively when you reconcile the value. Anonymous attendee, I've read it and it doesn't provide a detailed understanding of how the model works. The issue is I can't explain the adjusted sale prices used for time adjustments. How do I address that? So I think what he or she is referring to is in the market analysis section, we are plotting adjusted sale prices. And this person is saying, well, I don't know how you got the adjusted sale prices. Well, go to the feature adjustments tab. That's how we got them, because these are generally the adjustments that are being used to adjust those properties.
Hey,
Scott,
Paul,
why is
do you want to knock out one that we've gotten this multiple times? People want to know about, is there going to be support for UAD 3.6? Some people are calling it URAR, but do we want to just talk about that really quick? Because we've got a
yeah.
lot of those.
Yes. So right now we're waiting on documentation from all the form fillers. We plan on integrating with a minimum of the ones that we currently integrate with. Like we plan on doing that. But until they're kind of done with their thing, we don't have the ability to really integrate. So we're going to get the documentation from them once they're all good. And then we will then map our stuff to make sure we fill that stuff out. So yes, we plan on doing it. We're in a bit of a holding pattern right now, but we're hoping to be able to work on that soon. The good news is though, you can always use this, even if it's not completely there. You're going to get all of the support. You get the PDFs, you get the work file stuff, you get all that anyway. But yes, we will be working feverishly as soon as we get what we need to build those integrations. Mike Brunson, can threshold adjustments be percentage rather than numerical? No, right now they're just numerical, but I do appreciate the question and understand it. We could put that in as a feature request. Well, if any, D. Bradley Jones. Well, if anybody with money can use this product, how long before it puts appraisers out of business? I don't know. I just had to read that question. I don't have a good answer for you, but this product has nothing to do with putting appraisers out of business. We're trying to help you guys. This goes into effect the end of the month. Lenders want a farm list. This is from Robert Tavener. Lenders want a farm list in the report, but the farm list is too long for this from TrueTracts. How is that handled? So we give you all the information. What you do with it is up to you. I think what I would do is, let me go to the export. What we're giving you with the farm list includes all of the data. And so but it's separated by cluster. So we have an SS, subject submarket. That's what you want to probably provide them. They don't probably need the CS, the competing submarkets. What they're wanting is like, hey, what was the universe of properties you considered to pull comps from? That's typically what they mean by a farm list. So let me scroll down here to this farm list, which comes in PDF form into your work file. So if you look at the subject submarket, which is what I would send them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. So that's 8 pages of properties. Again, I don't know you're saying it's too long to give them? I don't know. I don't know what to say. It is what it is, you know? What else? Hey, thanks, Lamar. We got the unique compliment. Appreciate that. $99 includes Spark. Yes, $99 includes Spark integration with TrueTracts, but it also, if you just want to go to spark.com or whatever the URL is and use Spark without TrueTracts, you can. So that 99 includes the built-in Spark, but it also includes the Spark that you know and love today. Will Spark and Synapse be going away since TrueTracks has both features? Well, Spark is an integral piece to how TrueTracks works, and it has so many settings that if we were to build Spark separately, it would probably take us 6 months. So Spark's going nowhere. Synapse, we believe we've made it way better, and so Spark still exists today, but I think at some point it would probably be sunsetted. I don't want to alert or alarm anyone. I don't think that thing is coming anytime soon. But eventually, I would think that when you have a superior product, that the old product would probably go away. How are listings shown on the grid? Listings are always put at the end. So it'll, regardless of what you want to sort your comps by in similarity score, it will always be that closed sales will go first, and then your listings and pendings will always get pushed towards the end. I think that's the way most appraisers want that. Is the peer adjustment technique? Oh, if the peer adjustment technique is based on users who use Synapse, but Synapse is being replaced, how will this method stay current? We think the method's going to get better because we will start using TrueTracts adjustments just the way we are Synapse adjustments. And so, and by the way, we don't even use all of the Synapse adjustments we have. I think we truncate that by like the last 2 years, but we have over 2.3 million or 3.3 million. I don't know. We have millions of Synapse adjustments across the country. And so as we start getting more adjustments using this tool, those will start to get included in there. And I think based on my use of this tool and GAM, it's just way better in this tool. If you think about Synapse, it had support for 6 different types of simple linear regression. Those are all correlated with each other. And they also attribute the entire difference in sale price to the one feature you're trying to solve for. And so we know that that's not the way markets behave. And so we've replaced 6 forms of simple linear regression with this GAM model, which considers all features simultaneously. And it's just a way better method. Quality condition. You missed the comments on how you use the quality and the condition adjustments. Oops. So quality and condition. If I were to, the subject's a C4. If I were to realize, oh, this is actually a C3, there's nothing for you to do immediately, right? This is depreciated cost that it's putting in. It's saying, what is the cost to build the subject with the size and everything, the quality that you've told me, its effective age, all of that stuff. Like what was the cost minus depreciation? Then it runs the same math on this. What is the cost minus depreciation to build this one? And the difference is $62,100. So that adjustment goes in. But then you get to tweak that with sensitivity, right? This is knocking this down way too much. So maybe you go, well, 60,000 is a little aggressive. Maybe I want to knock that down to 40. And so that way that comp doesn't get adjusted down as much. Either way, it's going way too low. So I wouldn't suggest that, or if something else is missing. But And quality works the same way. If I were to rate this a Q1, I wonder what that adjustment would be. Yeah, $267,000. So yeah, you just change that. It will fill out the depreciated cost, and then you modify that with sensitivity. Please confirm monthly subscription includes cost approach data. Yes. So in Spark, you click cost data and you have you have the ability, I'm not going to go through it here, but you have the ability to do a cost approach. And that is included in your software. Sorry, it's treating me as a new user and giving me all the guidance, but this is where you do your cost approach. And when you export, that goes into TrueTracts. It's kind of hidden because you don't need to do anything with it in TrueTracts. But then when you send TrueTracts to total, it will populate your cost approach in total. Okay, we should probably call it at this point. We have office hours going on. Want to remind you guys how to do that. Sign up for the tool. Do your, oh, by the way, you get a two-week free trial when you sign up. So go get your 2-week free trial. Click here on the question mark, click join now, and you can jump into office hours. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in there right now, but you just click join now and you're right in there, and we'll be happy to answer questions there as well. Julie, did you want to close this out with anything?
Yeah, so just we got this question a couple times. Again, thank you everyone for joining. We will be sending out, and I believe Total will also be sending out a follow-up email. Just so you know, we'll include a link to the recording from this if you want to go back and watch it, but we always post it to our YouTube channel as well. So if you're give us a couple days because we have to synthesize the recording, but basically it will be available. Our I don't know if you want to bring up our YouTube handle, but our handle is at True Footage Tech, TECH. But again, we will be sending a follow-up email with a link to the recording. So you will get a copy of that. And thank you all for attending. We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.